On the morning of the 26th of March, 1938, the director of the Naples Physics Institute opened a telegram. It came from Palermo. It read, "Don't worry, a letter will follow. Majorana." Antonio Corelli would receive that letter the next day. By the time he read it, the man who wrote it had already vanished. He was 31 years old. He was, according to Enrico Fermi, a genius on the order of Galileo and Newton. This is the disappearance of Ettore Majorana. Ettore Majorana was born in Catania, Sicily, on the 5th of August, 1906, into a family of mathematicians and physicists. By his teens, his speed of calculation was a household legend. He moved to Rome to study engineering, then switched to physics on the advice of a fellow student, Emilio Segre. He joined the small group that worked under Enrico Fermi at Via Panisperna number 89, the laboratory the Roman press would call the Via Panisperna Boys. His colleagues found him almost frightening. He read papers in their original languages and solved problems in his head on the tram. In 1932, when results from Paris suggested a new neutral particle, Majorana told Fermi the explanation: a neutron with roughly the mass of a proton. Fermi told him to publish. He refused. Months later, James Chadwick published the discovery and received the Nobel Prize. By the mid-1930s, Majorana had withdrawn almost entirely. He stayed in his family's apartment in Rome. He stopped going to the laboratory. For nearly 4 years, he published almost nothing. In 1937, Fermi arranged a special professorship for him at the University of Naples, granted without examination on the basis of his, quote, high and singular fame. The paper Majorana submitted to qualify, a symmetrical theory of the electron and the positron, proposed a neutral particle that is identical to its own antiparticle. Today, physicists call them Majorana fermions. He began lecturing at Naples in January 1938. Students remembered the lectures as brilliant and almost impossible to follow. In late March, he withdrew the savings from his bank account. On the 23rd, he took the night boat from Naples to Palermo. On the 25th, he wrote to Corelli, "I have made a decision that has become unavoidable. There is not a bit of selfishness in it, but I realize the trouble my sudden disappearance will cause." That same day, he bought a ticket for the return steamer to Naples. Then he sent the telegram. Then he sent a second letter saying the sea had refused him, that he would return, but that he intended to give up teaching. The ship sailed on the night of the 25th. A professor from the University of Palermo, Michele Strazzeri, shared his compartment. After that, the trail ends. Corelli alerted Majorana's family. The family alerted Fermi. Fermi wrote directly to Mussolini, telling him there were ordinary scientists, important scientists, and then a third category, the geniuses, like Galileo and Newton, and that Majorana belonged to this last group. Mussolini ordered a search. The police checked the ports, the hospitals, the monasteries of southern Italy. The family offered a reward of 30,000 lire. Nothing was found. No body, no record of his death. Over the decades, reported sightings came and went, most unsubstantiated. In 2011, a witness produced a photograph of a quiet man in Venezuela in the 1950s who he said was Majorana. The Rome prosecutor's office investigated. In February 2015, it announced its conclusion. Majorana had been alive in Valencia, Venezuela, between roughly 1955 and 1959, living under the name Beanie. On that basis, the case was archived. The leading theories are these: that he took his own life at sea, as the first letter seems to suggest; that, As his family and confessor maintained, his Catholic faith made suicide unlikely, and that he withdrew into a monastery in southern Italy. That he fled to South America, which is what the Rome prosecutors finally concluded. The romantic theory that he foresaw the atomic bomb and walked away from physics in protest was put forward by the writer Leonardo Sciascia in 1975. It is not supported by documented evidence. What is left is a 31-year-old physicist, a ticket, a steamer, 2 letters, a telegram, and a silence that has lasted nearly 90 years. Some of his equations may still be ahead of us. The man who wrote them is not.